Hey, everybody, it's Joe and Zach, your local Pittsburgh realtors, here today on Zoom for the first time with Cody Kohlman, the creator and host of the podcast Back to the Burgh. Thanks for joining us, Cody.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. So, Cody, as you can see, is a big Pittsburgh fan. Grew up around here and is still a sports fan. So, your podcast Back to the Burgh. First, how did you land on that name?
It sometimes things just come to you, right? I was thinking about doing a podcast for a long time. I used to do one in college, and all it was called was CK Radio. It was my initials in radio, and that doesn't pop off the page. So I'm thinking of ideas, blah blah blah, and then I finally see my friends at Around the 412. They do that's their podcast, and they were interviewing Bryant McFadden. And it was actually what Bryant McFadden said. He was like, listen, we're in quarantine right now. Everybody's looking to do something. Everybody's looking to be on a podcast, do content, just go do it. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's a good point. Like, I just need to go do it. So then I'm thinking of ideas, and then that whole interview fit concept, I was like, what if I just interviewed people who have obviously left Pittsburgh, and they've been successful in their own right in professional sports or in the sports world, and just bring them back to the Burgh, kind of bring them back to their roots. So that's kind of where I got the name, was trying to bring people back to their roots and talk about where they came from.
That's cool. I mean, we'd love to bring people back to the Burgh. It seems
Absolutely.
like more people move here than move away, but we'd bring some back too if we could.
Funny you say that. I lived in DC for 5 or 6 years. And while I was there, my mom bought me this T-shirt. And I think the Post-Gazette made them up. And it was like 25 great things about Pittsburgh. And it was like a list on the shirt. It's like the incline, the sports teams and everything. Not exaggerating. I literally probably 4 or 5 times out in public was offered money by people who were Pittsburgh, grew up here, said, where did you get that shirt? I'll buy it from you right now. And I'm like, I'm wearing this shirt. Like, I'm not going to go home with no clothes on. They're like, I got to get one of those, So, people that leave Pittsburgh, even if they've been gone for years and years, I'm currently working with a potential seller. He's been living in Seattle, Washington, or somewhere out there for 40 years. And we grew up in the same neighborhood, have a bunch of the same friends. And we talked for 20 minutes about, do you know this guy? Do you know that guy? What about this guy's sister? Oh, she's married, And people just who grew up in Pittsburgh they never really, even though they live somewhere else, they still always feel like they're Pittsburghers. They're never a Seattle, Washington person, or a Washington, D.C. person, or a Texas person. They're always a Pittsburgher who lives in Florida or California or wherever they live.
Yeah, no, I mean, in my experience with that, I live in New Jersey now. I'm always wearing something Pittsburgh, whether I mean to or not. I wear this hat almost every day. I have so many Pittsburgh t-shirts. Shout out to my friend Zach at Pittsburgh Clothing Company. He does a great job. But I'm always wearing something Pittsburgh, and it's like, I don't even mean to. It's just, that's my closet, So at work, I'm the Pittsburgh guy. They always make fun of me, make fun of my accent when it comes out, yada yada yada.
Every time you watch a Steelers game or a Pittsburgh sports team, the announcers always say, "Oh, the Pittsburgh fans travel well," and it drives me nuts because they're not driving from Pittsburgh to San Diego.
Right.
No, they live there now, but they're just still
Right.
They're still Pittsburgh fans, even though they don't live here anymore. You're a perfect example, but I don't know if these announcers really think that 20,000 people every game drive from Pittsburgh across the country. It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is like, even my aunt, she lived in Arizona for a number of years, and she would always try and go to a game when the Steelers are playing the Cardinals, or if the Pirates were in town, she'd go to a game. And it's like, it's anytime, if you're living outside of Pittsburgh, if you can get a taste of home, you're going to take it. You're going to go take a bite out of it.
DC had a Pittsburgh bar, which a lot of cities do too. And you can watch Steeler games and Pirate games and Penguin games there. they really cater to it. DC even had a special, I think they had like a festival for Pittsburgh over the weekend. This is years ago, where they would bring in chipped ham and Iron City beer and all this kind of Pittsburgh things. And it was really fun.
Yeah, no, I went to, it was probably about a year and a half now. I went to a bar in Hoboken here in New Jersey, and it was the weirdest thing. It was a Steelers bar, but it was also a Yankees bar. So 2 TVs had Steelers versus the Chargers on, and then 5 TVs had Yankees versus Astros NLCS on. So it's like you had 2, like it was both championship quality, like cheering, because who doesn't cheer for the Steelers? Like it's the championship every game. But it was a very awesome environment, but it was also very awkward because you have all these Yankees fans that you don't know who they are, and then you have this faction of Steeler fans in the corner watching these 2 TVs. It was a fun experience.
Have you noticed living outside of Pittsburgh now? Because I hear people say this all the time about Steelers fans or just Pittsburgh residents, that we're nice when it comes to like I just saw a video the other day of like a Dodgers fan beating somebody up in the stands, but like that never happens at PNC or Heinz Field. And have you noticed being outside?
I don't think you could say never.
Yeah, you can't say never. No, no, I've always believed that. I've always believed that we're passionate about our sports, but we're not sore losers. We'll take it on the chin. We'll be like, we'll get them the next game mentality. I haven't witnessed anything like that myself.
No, I haven't.
But no, like you're saying, you're seeing a lot of stuff nowadays. I think it might just be people coming out of quarantine and being able to go to games now. But I very rarely see that from Pittsburgh fans. And I went to Kansas City for the playoff game, Steelers versus Kansas City, where we only scored field goals. And I'd say the Kansas City fans, this was before they had Mahomes, so they might be different now. But they were just as humble and like passionate for their team as we were for ours. So it was like being in that stadium surrounded by Chiefs fans. They all were just like, hey, we respect you guys, and we just hope you respect us. And it's really that mentality is for Steeler fans, I believe, is we respect your team, but we're going to be passionate. We're not going to throw it in your face unless you give us a reason to. But we're just here. We're here to cheer on our team, and we're here to have a good time.
Yeah, just have a good time. We're not. I think we have to brag ourselves up. We have such a long history of success. It's like a couple bad seasons. Like on average, we're doing pretty good. We're not going to get upset about it. Yeah. So speaking of sports, and you said you just got done doing a couple interviews with the Washington Wild Things.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite guests, whether sports or not sports related, that you've had on your show that you've interviewed? So
I'll give you a few. It was probably the biggest interview from when I first started the podcast. Is also not a family friend, but he's a friend of a family friend. John Burke. He's a pitcher he got drafted by the Giants. He ended up playing for the Giants, the Rangers, the Red Sox. He retired with the Red Sox. But that was someone who, growing up with these family friends, they're always talking about, oh, Johnny this, Johnny that, Berkey that. And I'm like, I want to meet this guy. He didn't live in the area anymore. He moved to Texas and had his family there. But I was like always hearing about this guy and how good he was and blah, blah. I'm like, I really want to interview this guy, like get to know him. And finally I got the connection, or it wasn't even that I had to get the connection. I had the connection because we had family friends for like 15 years that were obviously friends with this guy. And, I got him on, and it was like talking to my dad. It was so fun. He's still a Pittsburgh guy through and through. Money didn't change him. He may have gotten a few new toys. Like my favorite clip from that episode was he showed me his bowling alley he has in his basement. Wow. talking to him was awesome. Getting to know more about his career that I didn't already know about, like how he's the first MLB pitcher to throw a complete game in the NLDS, and the first to throw a complete game and win in the NLDS in Yankee Stadium. So this was when he was a Ranger. He did that. So that was one of my favorites when it comes to athletes. Outside of athletes, I think any of the like content people that I interview, whether it's small time or big time, I told you guys I'm friends with Zach Smith and Tyler Weeks from Around the 412. They've been doing their podcast for like three years, going on 4 years now. I'm good friends with them, and to be able to get to know them and their struggles and what they did to be so successful in podcasting was very fun. And then on the other side of the spectrum, I was able to interview Selena Pompiani, and I was able to interview Andy Perlman, who is the VP of Digital for the Penguins. And just recently, I this episode won't be released yet, but I interviewed John Willey, the new VP of Creative and Content for the Pirates. So getting to talk to those people who are in my position trying to make a career out of this, and the people that have made a career out of this, those are my favorite conversations. Just to kind of, an exchanging of thoughts of creative minds those are some of my favorite conversations.
That's cool. I have to dumb it down a little bit, I have a picture somewhere in my phone of about 6 of my buddies and I and Selena from a bar one random night. And then one of my friends recognized her. They said, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know who that is, but we're all hanging out downtown somewhere. And it's just like this girl taking a picture with us. I'm like, I have no idea who this is, but turned out it was Selena Pompiani.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. I mean, she loves what she does. She's just so good at it, and she's so personable and easy to talk to. She's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you get into podcasting? I know that's one of those things that probably you read about that all the time. They say, well, here's some things you could do. Start a blog, start a podcast, do this, if you would follow, articles you read about it, it sounds like it's the easiest thing in the world to do. But like most things, it looks easy if somebody does it well. And when you actually try it in practice, it's not nearly as easy or as sexy as they make it look sometimes. So tell us a little bit about how you got into podcasting.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of trial and error. This is actually the second podcast I ever did. The first one just didn't work out. But to start from the beginning, I was a big fan of Barstool Sports and just what they were doing in the podcasting realm. And like you said, I thought, okay, if I want to get into this space, I have to be a blogger. I have to blog. So I made a blog, blah, blah. I don't like reading, so why would I make somebody else read? That kind of thing,
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. So in college, I never really thought about doing anything with audio, but I had to take a radio class to get my degree, and I was terrified of getting in front of a mic and talking, and then the requirement of the radio course was you have to have a show. And I was like, all right, I'm going to make sure I have like at least 2 or 3 of my friends in here with me so that I don't feel awkward. So it started out like that. And I was just talking on the mic, and I ended up falling in love with it. Like just being able to put my opinions out there and my analysis of things was, I don't know, it was really, I guess, liberating, if that's the right word. But it was just something that was very fun to do. And then obviously that class was only for a semester. So then I go and make my own podcast called CK Radio. And that was fun. Then again, it was like only like my dad listened to it, and I would have him on every so often. Like me and my college friend, Drake, we would be arguing about something, and I'd be like, all right, we're going to settle this. I'm going to call my dad. Like, I'm going to call Jimbo. He's going to tell us who's right and who's wrong. So that's how I got into it. It was just that passion for, getting my opinions and my analysis out there, because I feel like I have something important to say. I mean, it's, I don't know. I probably don't, but
once you get past no, you do. But once you get past that point of feeling awkward and weird with a headset on or with a camera pointed at you? I know I did the
For sure.
first couple of interviews. It was like, this feels so weird. And then
Yeah.
as soon as you turn the recording off, it's like, oh, I can go back to my real self, you know. And
Yeah,
but as soon as that record button's hit, it's like it just feels weird. But the more you do it, the
Yeah,
less
no,
weird.
and I'll change the words up a little bit. I wouldn't say I have something important to say. I feel like I have unique perspective.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is something that I would like to bring to more people, you know?
Yeah. So that sort of leads into our next question. Did you ever take any inspiration from any other podcasts, like you said, Barstool Sports? But what are some of the ones you listen to? Podcasts haven't been out for a long time, but longer than we've been doing it. So who are the ones you listened to before you had your own?
So yeah, like I said, I was listening to Barstool Sports, specifically, Pardon My Take. They were like the inspiration, you know. It's two guys. It's like you're listening to two guys sitting down at a bar talking about sports.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the inspiration, is just to be able to bring that unique conversation to someone's ears, you know. So they were obviously a big influence. Also, you know, just listening to listening to local Pittsburgh radio. You know, sometimes the bad stuff inspires you. You know, it's not my preferred listen, but like when I was working landscaping between semesters in college, you know, we would have the fan on in the truck going from site to site. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you know, okay, they're giving me some stats, but they're also just talking out of their ass. Like, you know, it's like, I don't want to, like, this isn't the type of content that I feel like Pittsburgh deserves. And I think a lot of the people in the up and coming in the podcasting game right now in Pittsburgh, they have the same perspective. They think the fans of Pittsburgh sports deserve better. And that's what they're trying to give to people. And I think it's working. I feel like it's a matter of time before some of them start getting job offers from, you know, the Fan or the X or WDVE.
Mhm. Is that
So
your dream, to be on either a guest or a co-host on Pardon My Take or something like that?
so my dream job is to work for Barstool Sports. And, you know, I have a long way to go. I'm just, like I said, I'm just starting out this podcast. It's only been going on for a year, and I'm still not where I think I should be at this point. But yeah, my dream is to work for Barstool Sports, and they don't really have a Pittsburgh voice. And I would love to be the Pittsburgh, or part of the Pittsburgh voice within Barstool Sports, and kind of put our city at that almost mecca of sports media, or however you want to say. I know a lot of people don't like Barstool Sports and don't think they're that good at what they do, but out of all the podcasting companies and media companies out there, they're the ones that have consistently been growing and growing through the pandemic as well.
Say
So
what
to
you
be
will,
able to
they're
bring
popular.
Pittsburgh to that would be a
Yeah,
dream.
you made me think of something when we were speaking about podcasts, and how, you know, you see a niche in the podcast world that might translate into the, you know, kind of what do they call it, legacy media kind of a thing. And these guys have teased me in our pre-interview a little bit about being much older than them. So I'll go back into the Wayback Machine again. And when MTV first came out, when they actually used to play music videos,
Yeah.
that was opened up a whole new group of musicians from around the world, not just in the United States, but, you know, Australia, In Excess, and Men at Work. They would have never made it on American radio. They didn't have access to it, but MTV gave them that access to it. It created pretty much the early 80s new wave music scene, because these bands could make a video and put it on MTV, and then they were known worldwide. Like, they became, you know, instant celebrities. And podcasting, it has some similarities to that. You get your name out there, and you never know. You know, the right person sees you or hears you, and you know, it could translate into moving a step up the ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and even when you like, I've been struggling with this recently with my content and all that. You put on all this work and nobody notices. And it's like it's very much a game of patience.
Mhm.
And you gotta just roll with the punches. And it's I've had nights where I'm driving home from work at 4 in the morning and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to, dive into my content. And it's like it's it's a it's a journey. You gotta roll with the punches. You gotta keep working at it, and it's a grind. It really is.
We've noticed that if you don't get as many views as you think you deserve on, say, your first 10 videos, first 20, once you start getting more views on your 30 and 40th videos, they trickle back down to
Yeah.
your first couple. It's like somebody gets real interested and then they'll run through your whole catalog. And then before you know it, all your videos are starting to climb the charts, and it starts to pay off. It's like we've said it before when we first started this. We kind of compared it to farming. We're tilling the land and planting the seeds, and then one day we're going to wake up to a field of sunflowers.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it, honestly. I mean, I talk to I see him as my podcasting mentor, Anthony DiNardo. He hosts North Shore 9. It's a Pirates podcast. And, he kind of gave me the same conversation. You just put it more poetically. It's like, you got to keep doing it. And then eventually it's going to just blow up. You just got to keep working, keep tilling the land. And eventually you'll see the fruits of your labor.
I'm from south of Pittsburgh. Like I said, it was more farm country. That's where I get mine nowadays.
Well, the other thing that's funny about creating content is often this has happened to me. The thing you think is really fantastic, it appeals to you personally.
Yeah.
You show it to somebody and you get it's okay, it's not bad, and then some little thing you throw together in 2 minutes and you think this is nothing, I'll just put it out there. People love it. And they say, that's the best thing you ever did. So you can't always trust, you want to trust your own instincts, but you also, sometimes that little thing that you do that comes directly from the heart, it comes from the heart and it touches other people's hearts. You just don't always know how things are going to be perceived. You want them to always like what you like, but sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. And you can be surprised by what appeals to a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I had that happen just this past weekend. Like I said, I've been working on the Washington Wild Things series for a long time. It was like a 3-month process of getting it all together and rolled out. And, it wasn't getting the attention I thought it deserved, because I was like, these are local guys, they're playing for a local team, and people can go watch them play for a good price. And it's like, it just wasn't getting the attention that I wanted it to. And then the Will Craig play happened for the Pirates, right? And I decided, I saw someone tweet about it, and they were like, it was a specific picture, and they're like, these guys look like they're playing any other sport other than baseball right now. And I looked at the picture and I'm like, that looks like they're playing spike ball. So I went into Photoshop and I made it look like they were playing spike ball. And I posted it on Twitter, and all the caption said was, guys, I fixed it. And it was that photo that I Photoshopped in the original photo. And over this past weekend, it got 9.7 thousand likes and almost 1,000 retweets. And it's like, just, one of those throwaway, like, oh, this looks funny, I'll throw it out there. That's the thing that gets the most attention, and not the thing that I worked 3 months on that I thought was going to blow up. So it's a roller coaster ride,
Those 9,000 eyes on Twitter could feed the Wild Thing videos. You never know. So,
that's the goal.
Yeah.
So since your podcast is primarily sports, but you also do some local businesses, I have kind of a question for you. And this is something that comes up, I think, as you said, you're sitting around talking to some guys at the bar, having a cup of coffee or whatever. What do you think, as a Pittsburgh sports fan, somebody who grew up in this area, what is your greatest or most memorable Pittsburgh sports moment?
Wow, you should have told me about that one before. That's a heavy question. Oh my goodness. I'd say it was since we were talking about the bar, right? My most memorable moment while watching a game at a bar was not a good moment whatsoever. It was I was at a friend's bar, and it was Steelers playoffs, or no, it wasn't even playoffs. This was towards the end of the regular season. They're playing the Patriots, and Jesse James apparently didn't catch that ball. And everybody's like, "Are you kidding me?" Blah, blah, blah. And then the replay happens, and they say it's not a catch. I'm not even 2 seconds after they made that call, I get a call from one of my friends from college, who he loves to pick on me about Pittsburgh sports. He's not even a sports fan himself. He just knows if bad things happen, it upsets me. And he calls me, and for some reason he's watching the game, and all he starts yelling at me through the phone is, "He didn't catch the ball. He didn't catch the ball. He didn't catch the ball." And I'm yelling, and I'm like, "Shut the hell up. He caught that ball. We should have won this game." And I'd say that's one of my more memorable moments of watching Pittsburgh sports in a bar. And then just recently, the anniversary of this event happened recently. I was at a game. It was a Pirates game, and the game went into like 17 innings. And I was on the third baseline, and Pedro Alvarez comes up to bat. I think it was only it was technically his rookie year with the Pirates. And he was getting hot, we're in the 17th inning, and he just jacks a walk-off home run over the Clemente wall. And I'm on the third baseline. I have a beautiful sight of what happened. And I'm like, oh my God, like we stayed here through 17 innings and it paid off, So that's one of my more memorable moments, being at a stadium when something happened.
I have to agree that I was at that game too. That was back when tickets were like less than $5.
Yeah, no,
we got our money's worth for that one.
How do you think I got on the third baseline? We only paid $20 for it.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. We were there for the whole day.
Oh yeah.
For me, it would be not that you asked, but I'll tell you anyway.
I want to hear it.
I was at a Steeler game. I think Troy Polamalu was either a rookie or maybe second year. He didn't play much his rookie year.
Yeah.
And I got tickets the last minute. A friend of mine said, "Hey, I got tickets. Do you want to go to the game?" It was like one of those hour and a half before the game things. So my wife and I went to the game. It was against the Cincinnati Bengals. Troy intercepted Carson Palmer, who was his college roommate, I think, and like ran the ball back, did one of his typical, pick sixes for a touchdown, and literally ran over Carson Palmer to get into the end zone. And it all happened I was in the end zone where it happened. So he ran right towards me into the end zone. And it was just, like there's other sports memories I have, the Penguins winning the Stanley Cup for the first time, but that was one that I actually saw in person. I was like, you say to yourself, I can't believe I actually saw this in person. Like, this is really cool. And, everybody would love to be able to say, I was there and saw that. And it actually happens sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean,
you can go another 2 hours with,
sure.
With Pittsburgh sports memories.
Absolutely.
But, this has been great. We're very thankful for you coming on here, and everybody, we'll put your info down, but if you want to say where people can find you, your Facebook or your YouTube, whatever it is.
Yeah, so the YouTube channel is just Kohlman Entertainment, Kohlman. I know it's a weird way to spell Kohlman, but that's how it is. So Kohlman Entertainment's the YouTube channel. I'm most active on my Twitter, which is Kohlman_ENT. That's where I put out most of my takes, and I interact with a lot of people. It's just always a good time when you're talking to me. At least I hope so.
For sure.
And then you can follow the Back to the Burgh Twitter account as well. That's where I post all the clips for upcoming week's episode and things of that nature. So that's just at Back to the Burgh on Twitter.
Great.
When you make it big, don't forget about us. If you,
Of course.
when you make it big, who's your first guest if you could pick anybody?
Oh, if I could pick anybody.
Like a Joe Rogan type guest.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I don't even know if it would be an athlete because, you know,
Yeah, anybody.
I think I'd go with Joe Maganello.
Oh,
All right, I like
He's a
it.
Pittsburgh guy. He's
Might bring
someone.
his girlfriend or his wife.
Hey,
That's
she's welcome.
amazing.
Sophia,
Okay.
Sophia, you're welcome on that one.
If she ever hears this.
But yeah, Joe Maganello for sure. He's Pittsburgh to the core, man. And he's just doing some really awesome stuff. And he always, it feels like anytime a local sports team asks him to do a voiceover, it seems like he just does it for free because he does it all the time, you know? So he seems like he's Pittsburgh to the core, and that's a guy that he's kind of made it to the pinnacle of his profession. I'd love to ask him how he got there.
Right. Yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise, but I like your choice.
Everybody tweet this video. Let's get
Yeah,
him to-
Yeah, maybe we could,
Come on.
let's get him to see this.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
again.
Cody.
Yeah, this has been great.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you guys. This was awesome.
All right.
Bye-bye.